Welcome to Surf Dudes with Attitude, a very special episode. It's almost like our Christmas episode. This is Pete from New York City. I'm really excited to be here. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, I'm excited as well. I'm Zach from Nashville, Tennessee.
And I'm George Howell in Ocean View, New Jersey.
Okay, New Jersey, New York, and Nashville. Sweet. All right. I'm Anthony Franke. I'm in Melbourne, Australia.
Melbourne. Oh, yeah.
Melbourne.
Cat's out of the bag. This is a big deal for all of us. We have Anthony Franke on the podcast.
Or is it old Jake-Sommers?
No, it's okay. You know what? That just goes to prove that at least one person is watching these videos that I'm painstakingly made. That's right. Swamp Ass Summers is on the podcast with us. So far, the coolest cast member to us because he can take a joke and laugh at himself, and we can all talk about the show that we love called California Dreams. But we're gonna be talking about a lot of stuff today, and we really appreciate you waking up out of bed, not putting on pants, and coming on the podcast on Surf Dudes with Attitude. Thank you so much, Jay. This is actually a very surreal honor of mine, at least personally. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. If I have to put on pants or get up or anything like that,
deal breaker. You don't have to. It's okay.
You'd be the only one, and then it'd be weird.
But I feel kind of like out of. No, I'll be a trendsetter. We'll see.
You can shorten those little shorts. If you put on Daisy Dukes, then you'll come back for the sequel. So
that's what I'm wearing actually already. So
good.
Well, there's your invitation.
I did an episode of Loveline back in Los Angeles with Dr. Drew and Catherine Bach back in the 90s.
Wow.
That was a highlight of my life. So she gave me a pair. So yeah, I wear them as often as possible.
So were you on the radio show Loveline, or were you on the MTV show?
The radio, multiple times. In fact, I was on with Ozzy. It was me and Ozzy at one point, and that was that was like one of those like oh shit moments.
Yeah, for sure.
And there was at one point somebody had called in and said, I'm having a problem with drugs and blah blah. And at the time I was partying a lot, so I was like, hey, blah blah blah. And then Dr. Drew said, hey Jay, why don't we defer to Ozzy on this one? I was like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good idea. Ozzy was like, well, fucking.
Why don't you hold the box of nails while Ozzy builds the house here? Because he's got this one.
And he was actually, man, he was the nicest guy. He was so awesome.
I've heard only good things. And did he have a handler at the time? Was it still Sharon kind of getting toted around with him, or was he like okay and more cognizant than what we'd seen on the shows?
He was fine. He with the English accent and the drugs over the years, he talked a little bit differently than the rest of us. But like he's a very smart dude.
Yeah.
And he knows what's going on around, or then he did. I mean, and obviously you can see now he's like, I'm getting old. This is getting kind of old. Everything's getting kind of old, and I need to stop doing what I'm doing.
Sure.
And that takes some, obviously we've seen in the last few days, that takes a little presence of mind to be able to say, time to hang it up a little bit. So,
do you know, by any chance, what year that was? Like, I mean, I'm sure it was Columbine era, right? It was late 90s, early 2000s.
93, 94, 95, 96.
Okay, so it was earlier. Because my brother and I were talking about the time I saw Black Sabbath. I had to go to Ozfest, and to see Black Sabbath, I had to sit through Papa Roach, Disturbed, Crazy Town, and Linkin Park all in a row.
Disturbed wouldn't have been too bad. Linkin Park, like at first, when I first heard them, I thought it was NSYNC on hardcore.
I know, but you can't even say that now. People like have Linkin Park tattoos. They will fight you.
Linkin Park was a good band, all right. Linkin Park was a good band.
No, I have no problem. I like Linkin Park.
Well, I don't have any tattoos, but
Right. No, that's cool. But when I first heard them, like I literally, like I was on the radio and I was like, "What is this? Like a boy band gone like hard?" Or I didn't know. And then I got introduced, and somebody was like, "Oh, here, let me play this for you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty good shit." And this Chester Bennington guy is pretty awesome. So and R.I.P. of course. But the Papa Roach, I never got into them, but I don't have a problem with them. So
That's okay. You can have a problem with them. This is a safe space if you don't like them.
If you develop a problem with them over the next hour, just as
you just let us know.
Voice it.
Oh my God, I hate them. No,
thank you. Well, I mean, so I guess you've at least maybe heard of our podcast before. We are a kind of a new podcast, but like quick, the origin story. If you didn't know, like this was a percolating idea in my head for the last 10 years. I really genuinely liked California Dreams. It did inspire me, and I wanted to do a podcast that was kind of reviewing it from a musical industry angle. And then nobody wanted to do the podcast with me for 10 years, and then finally I saw you guys were coming to New York. And literally the day before I saw it and I was like, I'm going, bought the ticket. I saw that show that was in Manhattan. And then I called Zach that night and he said, yes, let's do this. I've never heard of the show. He's never even went to high school. So this all kind of came together beautifully. And just like this interview, thank you again for just being like, fuck it, I'll come on, because you don't know what you're going to get. Like some people are terrible at interviewing, and we're definitely not bringing anybody on to sandbag them. We
bringing on to sandbag me, I'd be, I'd just kind of hand it back. I think.
I think you've seen way worse than whatever we could shell out. But there's no way that we're going to talk ad nauseum about a subject without loving it at least somewhat.
Well, I've seen some clips where I'm like, do they like us?
We don't.
And then I've seen some clips where I'm like, okay, that was all right. And then Swamp Ass Summers. Let me explain Swamp Ass Summers to you. I think it was you, Zach, who called me Swamp Ass Summers.
Oh. It was. I think it was
Pete. I think
Zach said "stinky boy."
For everyone missing out on the inside joke, explain the Swamp Ass Summers video.
Yeah, it was just we had a short clip of Jake's outfit, and like we love all the fashion on this show, and not just because we came from a certain age, but we love it. It's like big block colors. It's very bright.
Love it.
It's very expressive. We did it too. Everything you wore in high school, I also did. Okay, I don't know who wore it first or who wore it better, but it was definitely helpful for me in my formative years. So anyway, we just said that you had on like 5 layers and you're in California. So hence, I'm worried about you. You're a musician. We know what it's like to get swamp ass. It was more being a comrade. So I take full responsibility in getting called out on that.
No, I wanted to explain, sure. Not even explain, just kind of give some context. It was a show that was the demographic was teenage girls, not dudes our age in 2024.
Unfortunately, that's true.
Right.
We found that out.
Which is cool. I mean, you guys are doing your thing, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, also, I was actually the lucky one that they put in those layers, because on those sets, they're kept so fucking cold.
Yeah.
Because of all the lights beaming down on everybody at all times. And I'm talking 24/7, not 24/7. They turn off the lights at night, but those lights would go on in the morning before we all got there. And if the air conditioning was not keeping that at a steady freaking 30 degrees or whatever it was freaking cold, then shit would set on fire. So So I was actually like, hey, I got this nice heavy.
You're wearing a fire blanket. You're so prepared. You're a Boy Scout.
Flannels on all the time. The one time they put me in shorts, I was like, oh, this sucks for you guys. Oh,
yeah, but now look at you.
Yeah, so there you go. So swamp ass, it didn't happen because it was just too cold. But yes, if I stepped outside, like when I used to smoke, when I stepped outside, all of a sudden I'd start sweating a little bit, and then I'd finish a cigarette and stop sweating because I went inside.
This guy's bringing meteorological receipts to the podcast. Thank you for being so thorough.
I want to talk about California Dreams and production and everything else, but before we get into that, I've seen a bunch of interviews with you, and no one ever asks you any personal questions. Everything's about California Dreams, and I want to know about you.
Okay. What's your IRS tax statement?
What?
He said, what's your IRS tax statement? You come from Leonardtown, Maryland?
I paid more taxes than a certain politician in the last 15 years. While living in Australia, I paid more taxes in America than somebody who brags about it. Anyway,
I think our bills for the podcast are more than that politician has ever paid. So
yeah, being Americans like being born Catholic. It's something you always are. You can leave, but you're still out no matter what.
Right. And in fact, if I want to rescind my citizenship, I have to pay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, don't do that.
You asked if I'm from Maryland.
Okay. Yeah. My one friend lives in Leonardtown. It's a cute town.
It's cute. It's cute.
Nobody lives in Leonardtown. What the fuck?
George's one friend.
It's got a population of 15 since you left. It's booming. All right. It's been gentrified. You're missing a lot.
Yeah,
Mason-Dixon.
I was just there after the New York reunion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. But yeah, it's still a pretty small place.
Yeah, that little suburb of like DC, Baltimore. It's amazing how quaint it is. But what's your story? Where does it go from there? Like, how did you get into music? How did you get into acting? I think I saw somewhere that you did ballet. Is that true?
Basically, I just we moved when I was a kid. We moved from Callaway Valley Lee, Maryland, which is just a little bit to the something of Leonardtown, and a little bit south of Leonardtown, I think. Anyway, and my mother still has a farm in Callaway. And anyway, we moved to Los Angeles area, Canyon Country, Santa Clarita.
Okay.
And then went through high school, junior high and high school, and then ended up being pretty much like, actually, I didn't even finish high school. But ended up saying I pretty much need to be a performer. But before that, I had been studying, and my mother was always very supportive. I had been studying the arts, and that was drama, dance, everything. So yeah, I did tap, jazz, ballet, modern.
Awesome.
Studied piano when I was a kid. Got into guitar later, and then started. And I left home pretty young. I think I was about like 15 or 16 by the time I was on my own, and ended up finding an agent at about 16 and started auditioning. Took quite a few years. I did a lot of guest spots here and there. Married to show. I got beat up by Al Bundy. That's a life goal.
Pizza
Boy.
Boy.
The thing that I remember forever. One of my favorite shows.
Yeah, Christina Applegate. I got pizza from Christina Applegate's hand.
That's a fetish right there.
That was awesome. And then I think Pamela Anderson was in my episode as well.
Oh wow.
She's in the dream sequence at the end. And then did a bunch of different things here and there, and then finally landed the role of Jake. And then that's pretty much all she wrote. And then by the time we were done with it, California Dreams was kind of a big enough deal where I was just kind of partying too much. I've read that I've seen like shit on YouTube where somebody's like, oh yeah, that's Jake's heroin days. I'm like, what? Heroin.
Maybe huff and glue, maybe.
Yes, but I was doing meth. I was doing all kinds of crap, but there was no heroin, and I was not like,
you have standards.
I was being handed shit everywhere I went. I'd walk into a place and it'd be like, hey, welcome to the VIP room. And somebody would slap a bag of X or blow or whatever into my hand. And it got to a point where I was like, I got to go.
Right.
Like, so the show ended and I was auditioning for more stuff and still going out and doing stuff. And I think I had just gotten to a point where I was like, I'm going to die. Like, this is nuts. So I just removed myself. Absolutely, completely, 100% walked away from the business. I did learn some willpower and some other things pretty quickly after that. I should have gotten back in, but I didn't because I had gotten into some tech work and tech jobs and was just kind of comfortable. But yeah, I just removed myself from the business, and that was all she wrote. So.
You got into tech, and I come from a video production background. What is about video production people and like learning how to code and getting into tech and stuff? Is it just because you're in a situation where you're problem solving all the time that you're just naturally good at it, and that's where you end up? Or
well, first I got into it was basically a job at Activision, being a QA tester, and so I rose up through the ranks there for after a bit. Then went on to Ion Storm, where I worked on Daikatana and Deus Ex. And then also did the voice of JC Denton and Paul Denton and a bunch of other voices in Deus Ex. And then went to another company and then another company, and then ended up where I'm at now, which is no longer games, and it's now video and audio, but it's still quality assurance. I don't code. I have something called I design and implement and work testing systems basically. But I have something called dyscalculia. If I see numbers or sequences, or it's like dyslexia, but with numbers or equations and stuff. So if I see shit that looks like a string or a large sequence of numbers, I have to scan it like 3 to 6 times before it actually assembles itself correctly.
Like a Matrix screensaver. Bad news for you.
Yeah. Okay. And it's actually fucked up. And one of the projects I'm working on now, there's just massive amounts of numbers coming at me. So I have to like literally tell people like, bear with me a second, and like scan it, and then I'm like, okay, and then but yeah, so that's another factoid about J. Anthony Franke. Dyscalculia is a thing. So. But yeah, that's where I'm at now, and that's what I'm doing. And
awesome.
Yep.
So I know that like Mark Paul Gosselaar talked about how when he was in Saved by the Bell that he didn't feel like he was famous or anything because they weren't making any money and the show was popular in reruns. But you've had really significant roles like with this and with Deus Ex. Do you feel like you were famous once, or do you feel like you were involved with really big projects, or is it more like you just did a job and punched the time clock kind of a thing?
Well, okay. For one, the money was better than any money I'd ever seen. In retrospect, the money sucked compared to what a lot of people get paid for doing television. I mean, they literally were like, "Can we pay you literally nothing, and you come in and do this?" And we were like, "Child labor," because it was still way more. And by the time I was done, I was actually making, I think it was like 4 times what I had started at. 4.5 times. And so that was pretty good. It's still TV money. It sucked.
Right.
But so I'm not rich by any standards. California Dreams did not make me wealthy. So that's why I work a 9 to 5. If it did, I'd be on a yacht right now being like, hey guys, I'm in the Caribbean.
Your reception would be terrible on a yacht. So thank you for staying home.
Right. And people ask me, if you won the lottery, wouldn't you get bored? I'm like, how did I get bored shopping for guitars and yachts?
Oh my God. No, you don't have enough guitars. I can count them. There's like maybe 5. Dude, you have plenty. You need more.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that California Dreams is not on any streaming service? Is that like a plan at some point? You guys are going to get a laser disc like release at some point or something?
They tried to release us on DVD, but the company that released us on DVD released the first 4 seasons, but also didn't allow us. We've got major followings around the world.
Yeah.
The UK were massive, but they didn't allow people to order the DVDs online from the UK. They didn't allow people to order the DVDs online from around the world. They just said, oh, they're available in the States. And it didn't do as well as they wanted, so they said, fuck it, and they didn't put out the season 5. And I'm like, hey, finish season 5, and then just make it available to the rest of the world, and it might do a little better than you might think. The reason it's probably not streaming, and this is something that we've all gone over many times, and I'll get back to the other question.
Oh, yeah, whatever.
But the reason it's not streaming is I think there's too many people to pay as far as musicians. Too many people, too many residuals, and whoever's in charge of it and the books and everything of whoever would have to do that is probably looking at going, oh, this is just a logistical nightmare as far as just getting those payments out to that many people. That's what we're guessing. Or the person who owns the music is probably like, oh, hell no, or we don't know. So there's
that damn Steve Tyrell.
He's a genius, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't think it's him. I don't know.
No, probably not. It's probably MCA, but.
Right, but then as far as feeling, whether I ever felt like a celebrity, yeah, man, it was nuts. I would go shopping for hot dogs and buns or chicken to put on the grill, or whatever.
Classic celebrity.
I'd go to Vaughn's or Albertsons or whatever it was, and shit would get crazy. Or we would go and do a celebrity basketball game, and the stands would erupt and start pouring down the court, and we'd be ushered, I'd be ushered out and out the door. At one point at a mall, I had to actually duck under a table, jump over a fountain, and note the fuck out. And
get Ferris Bueller out of there.
And go hide in the bathroom. It was like a bathroom storage closet thing off to the side until like somebody actually found me, and I was just sitting there like.
Macaulay Culkin's hiding in there too.
They had ripped an earring out, got half my shirt, some hair. Wow. It was nuts. But as far as did I ever feel like I was on a celebrity because of wealth? No.
Right.
I had extra money for a while. I could live off my savings for a while.
Yeah.
But no, there was never nothing like that.
So does stuff like that feel like a job, or is it like when you're in that kind of a lifestyle, do you feel like blessed that you can do what you do?
One, blessed that you can do what you can do because it was awesome. But yeah, it is a job. I mean, you do work hard. But at the same time, like I look at what I'm doing now and I look at what I was doing then, I'm like, oh, I'd so go back and do that. Over what I'm doing now. Now it's like, somebody gets really, really rich and the rest of us are paid pretty well. Like I'm paid well, I'm treated well. But somebody's getting really, 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 really wealthy and I work really, 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 really hard and my brain hurts really, 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 really bad each and every day. As opposed to then, yes, we worked hard, but at the same time, like we had fun. Like it was fun and it was enjoyable. There were times where we filmed something called a pickup episode. So you do 4 scenes from an episode every week after each show every week, so that by the end of 4 weeks, you have one complete new show.
Okay.
Nice.
So we would have, we'd be filming from early in the morning on Friday till 10 o'clock at night. And then it was off to Pinot Noir, or whatever the hell it was called, the bar right next to the
studios, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Sunset Gower Studios, to have some drinks and just wind the hell down. And then, but at the same time, like, man, you wouldn't trade it for anything else, except for if you thought you were going to end up killing yourself somehow because you were partying too much. So
yes, right. There's always that. So when you came in, did it feel like you were like coming in halfway through the school year kind of thing? Because there was already like a bonding with all these people, but and I know Heidi was leaving, but how were you able to easily kind of integrate yourself into that clique?
I came in and at the time I was eating like half a bag of ramen a day. I would add margarine, country crock, that big old tub. I would add
the good shit. Yeah.
The good shit, right? I would add like a tablespoon of that to my half a bag of each half a bag of ramen. I ate to make it look like there was chicken oil.
So cultural. Yeah.
That's a good.
That's how broke I was because I was auditioning like 3 or 4 auditions a day and then working this piddly ass job at night. And so I was always exhausted. I was absolutely skinned. But anyway, I went in there. They had a meeting that was, hey, meet the cast, and we've got this new guy, and we're going to introduce you before we film or have any actual day of work. So I went in there and I had this like full beard. I had this like bag with my tobacco and my rolly papers because that was way cheaper than buying a $1 pack of smokes. My Birkenstock sandals, my flannel shirt, and and backwards hat and whatever, just because whatever. Anyway, I walked in there and I could see on their faces they were like, "Who the is this? What the hell is going on?" And then Peter Engel was like, "This is Anthony Franke. He's going to be joining us."
I love everybody has the same impression of him, and it's so accurate.
He was very distinct. He was a very distinct man, and gave me a great shot. So I always appreciate it. But he was like, and here he is, and you could see that they were looking at me like, "What the hell?" And even Michael's like, "I was looking at you like, what the hell?" Then you came in Monday shaved, and I was like, I get it. Okay, all right.
He has a chin, so he can get the job.
Right. So They had a thing. They had a group. They had a clique. They were the OGs from the first season, but they brought me on for a reason, and they, and it was, we ended up becoming this dysfunctional family. Like
Sure.
So there was there ribbing at the beginning? Sure. Was there ribbing at the end? Yes. Was there times we got along great? Absolutely. Were there times we argued? Yes. But at the end of the day, like when we were all leaving, when you saw, on the finale episode, when you saw us upset, we weren't kidding. That really wasn't acting. We were pretty damn upset, like it was ending, and that we were all not going to be going into the same place together every day anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, at that point, was there any talk of, because we know when the first season started, there was at least a general idea that maybe this band would actually tour. Was that idea completely eliminated by the time you kind of came on board? Was there any?
Think so. I think that kind of was eliminated. I think they kind of just looked at it at all as logistical nightmares. I think NBC was like, MCA, you guys do it. And MCA was like, you guys do it.
It's a lot of work, trust.
Who was going to do it? And they both decided they didn't want to do it. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. And then also, like at the time, like I tinkered with guitars, but I didn't play like Jake. That was okay. That was some other guy. Also, I have a voice. I can hold a tune, but that's very coughing to do my voice because I went in to interview with Steve Tyrell and Peter after I'd gotten the part. And I had made the mistake. They asked me to play a song. I'd made the mistake of playing him something I wrote, thinking I was being edgy and cool. And it was some really folky shit that I had written. And it obviously wasn't old time rock and roll. It wasn't, it wasn't like it wasn't pop rock what they wanted. And I could see them when I was done. They were like, not really what we're looking for. So they got Barry Coughing, which, if you're going to get somebody to do Jake-Sommers' voice, and I'm Jake-Sommers, and that's the guy you want to get, he was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But if you want to hear me in the show, you go to the Vote of Confidence episode.
Yep, that's coming up for us, yeah.
Singing Leather and Loose. So I don't know why, like all of a sudden they were like, okay, do this. And I did that.
Was that surprising at the time when it happened?
It was. And it's weird. Like I've had, there were people that came up to, I think it was, somebody on the cast after the reunion was like, wow, man, you really are pretty good. And I was like, you don't remember Vote of Confidence? Like I sang and played like right in front of you.
You have a larynx. You can sing.
Yeah. It's all fucked up from smoking up until a couple years ago. But at the same time, like, I appreciated the gesture that I was being given at that. That was last year by that person. That was awesome. Yeah. But yes, I did do some stuff live on the show. There were a couple other times where I was playing or singing. But yes, mostly it was Barry Coughing.
So how did all that work though? Because when I watch episodes in season 2, like Brentley Gore, William James Jones, and you all look like you're actually playing the instruments. Did you learn the songs before, or were you just miming everything, or how did that?
I was miming. I knew chords. Basically I was given a tape. I was like, they were like, learn the song as far as vocals go, and then look like you're playing it.
Okay. So that's insane. I'm saying, like, you are dead on with some of those solos. Like, we have tabbed out what you've written, and it's very close to like what the actual solo is. That's just insane to me that you're like, I don't know. It's just a lot of talent to fake that so well.
I appreciate that. There's other guitarists who look at me and be like, "Oh, that's terrible," and I'm like,
no, but like, especially if you're learning like a song per week, that's great.
People ask me like, "Can I learn watching you play on the show?" I'm like, "Don't do that."
Yeah. Well, I do have to say that some of the chord,
definitely.
Yeah, some of the verses that we saw was like, is he doing some Robert Fripp chords? Like, is this a weird tuning? Because like the verses don't make any sense, but your solos are always on.
I appreciate that, and I love Robert Fripp, dude, and I love Robert Fripp. Breakfast, the videos are awesome. But I mean, you could see with my attack hand, like you can see that we're both on and we're both playing. Mm-hmm. I had been in a few bands before I was on the show. I had messed around with guitar enough. I wasn't a soloist by any stretch of the imagination, but enough to be able to be like, okay, I kind of know what it looks like to play.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I didn't have the coordination to actually do that stuff, but I had enough coordination to make it look like, okay, I'm playing a bar chord and I'm flipping around a shape here and there and a couple of hammer ups. So that was pretty much what you were looking at.
And these were from recordings that they would give you prior to filming the episode.
These are recordings they would give us prior to, yes. And basically my thing was like, I needed to get out and party. So I would get as close to it as possible, and then be like, "Fuck it," and I'm done, and make sure I just knew it and could and made it look passable. Unfortunately, I really kind of wish I put more into it. I wish I did learn them all at the time. There's
some really cool solos on like the extended cuts of the album, and I know you might not have anything to do with those, but like there's some really cool vibrato stuff that we saw you doing that made us at least give pause at saying like, wait. Did he learn the entire solo and then he just like was like, oh fuck, I ran out of time, I gotta go party, I didn't learn any of the chords. So we were like
I was a guitar fan long before I knew how to really play guitar. In fact, I still don't know how to play guitar. I just play it.
Dude, don't be so hard on yourself.
Are you
stuff? You're pretty decent.
I appreciate that, but I really don't. Like if you ask me what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm just doing it. Like, but if you say, hey, what chord is that? I'm like, oh, I can name the chord. Okay, well, what note is that on the fretboard? Oh shit, I don't know what I'm playing. I'm playing in the key of A minor, I think. Or
so you got these songs where did they give you any kind of like tabs or charts at least to be like learn this, or you had to learn it all by ear?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, but I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't really learning it.
Well, I know, but if they gave you, they're giving you songs for like the vocals, basically.
They gave us a tape, right?
Okay,
and then the one time that I got a tablature or a chord chart was for Leather and Loose.
Okay, I see. So something you actually had to do. Kind of.
And then I think there was you captured my heart, but my heart belongs to you. The thing where we were doing the what was it, the Keystone Cops messenger gram things. You'll come across that episode later.
I can't wait.
I think they were like, yeah, somebody just came and said, just play this chord progression. I was like, okay. So then so I was playing it at the time. But yeah, other than that, like George, I appreciate it. I appreciate you playing, but like, yeah, I mean, yeah, like I'm just it's a Zen thing for me. I just kind of play along to stuff and when people are like, teach me, I'm like, I don't know. Yeah.
So what kind of music are you into? I know that you follow Pink Floyd because I've seen you play to that, but what other bands?
Yes,
Ziggy, good old Ziggy.
I cried when
Absolutely.
Bowie passed away. I cried.
Me too.
And I went out and listened to that fucking final album, Black Star.
That is insane. I was listening to that on the airplane the other day, and like for him to be in that perspective to write what he did, knowing he was dying, and that album is insane.
Like Johnny Cash did the same thing. Yeah,
that was a gift. That was a gift to the world. That was him just saying, I know I'm dying, and here's my past, and here's the future.
So well done.
It's me, Bowie, and I'm giving this to you, and everything in that was just like it just brought you back, it brought you forward, it brought you to the middle. It reminded you of why Bowie made it okay for you to be you. Everything. Yeah. I mean, it was just like holy shit. And I sat out there with a bottle of scotch out in my garage, with a bottle of scotch on, I would say, man, fuck a month or two straight. Not straight, not every night, but like a month or two straight, every couple nights, just going out there and just turning it on and just sitting there and just, smoking and listening and like, oh yeah, he died of cancer, shit. Later. But yeah, Bowie, Zeppelin, you can't go wrong with. Heart
is so underrated still.
One of the most underrated. I mean, Ann Wilson's voice is one of the most underrated voices on. I mean, her voice was sublime. As far as I'm concerned, absolutely sublime when she
paired so perfectly with those guitars.
Oh my God! Holy crap! Fleetwood Mac. So I mean, if you want Ann Wilson, Lindsey Buckingham, Fleetwood Mac, the voices, the guitars, I mean, these are bands that I just looked at. I still to the I just said Lindsey Buckingham and I got chills. Some of the stuff that dude played. Like,
dude, it's still 3 years on. I still can't play Never Going Back Again like the exact same way that he does that song. And then literally like Big Love, trying to play basically 3 guitar parts and sing at the same time. I'm just like, it makes me want to quit and get better at the same time. Like his stuff has always been like that.
Right. And there's a lot, and also like Al Di Meola. I'm a huge Al Di Meola fan. Like he is the best guitarist on the planet, next to Gilmour. Actually, he's better than Gilmour, but Gilmour is like, to me, they're like neck and neck, but different types of guitarists. I don't know if you know. Some people don't know Al Di Meola stuff. Some people do. That dude is insane. Like if you see him just work the fretboard, like it's just. What is he doing? Like what kind of sorcery is this?
It is sorcery.
Like it is. It really is. Like it's get the album Elegant Gypsy from Al Di Meola and listen to Race with the Devil Down Spanish Highway and listen to what he's doing along with the bassist and along with the keyboards and listen to what's happening, and you're just going to be like.
I'm not familiar with him, so I will definitely listen to him probably tonight. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you for the recommendation. Yeah,
absolutely. What else? Man, there's so much more. Of course, Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I could go. This is a conversation that could never end.
Right.
We could do this for days. I could sit here and talk music for days, you guys. But it's that's the basics for me. Mm-hmm. And then you can get on into even more. So there's a lot of new stuff people have been pointing out to me that I'm like, oh wow, shit. Like,
I was going to ask about like a new band that's at least excited you, or something that you've like were surprised by recently.
I can't even remember the name of it. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine, Randy Michaels.
Hannah Montana.
Solid State. No, not Hannah Montana. He's Solid State Radio is his musical project. So you look that up too. He's freaking awesome. He just released an album.
I mean, he named it after a recording process, so he's got to be good.
Solid State Radio. And then, so that was awesome. But let me look up. He sent me Solid State Radio by Randy Michael, excuse me. That project, and then he sent me this thing from who is it? I gotta find it. First of all, he sent me his picture. I'm seeing it right now of him playing the drums for Bowie, which I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then hold on, I'm looking for this thing. Where is it? Can't remember her name, but I'm going to remember it in a second as soon as I find this. I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling here. Carrie Ann Hurst singing Hell's Bells. Damn, dude. That's one thing I heard recently that blew my mind. Where the hell are you guys? Hold on. Okay. Okay. So look that up. Also, I don't know if you guys, even back in I think it was the early 2000s, I was still like not listening to new music.
Yeah.
And I think the Mars Volta.
Okay.
Great.
Hell yeah.
And that album, like that first album, Interstasic, ASP or whatever it was, I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. And the more I listened to it, the more I was like, I'm listening to this again. And it was one of those songs I actually listened to like 5-6 times before I moved on to something else. That was one. But yeah, anyway, another conversation we could go on.
Sure. Well, I mean, we wanted, like, Zach and I are super interested about your guitar collection, if that's cool. If you want to briefly go over like what your favorite one is, what do you gravitate towards? Like, are you self-taught? And if you are, like, did that like influence what you started getting gear wise?
I've had maybe 3 lessons. A dude taught me a lick once.
That's self-taught. Yeah, I'm the same. I'll give it to you. And then with being teaching yourself sucks, because like even like you just get stuck in this rut of doing kind of the same thing over and over again until you do something on accident that breaks you out of it. Yeah. Right.
But I used to have a bunch of guitars in the States that I sold before I came here, because I'm just like, I can't ship all my belongings.
For sure, yeah.
It's going to cost me like $10,000 to ship all my shit. So I literally came to Australia with like, I think 3 bags of clothing and other stuff. And I had I had a Fender, a Japanese Fender. I had a Ibanez 12 string, which I've replaced with another Ibanez 12 string. This is now, it's a Takamine D series. Yeah. I've had this now since I moved here. So this is about 15 years old.
Cool.
She's a beautiful guitar. Love her very much. This is probably the one I pick up the most often.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's easiest. Yeah.
And I love her because she stays in tune. Like, all I have to do is like literally just, the weather changes in Australia drastically. But all I have to do is pick her up and just hold the strings for a minute. And then she's right back in tune. Just warm, and she's right back in tune, and that's it.
Just rubbing her belly.
Right. And I have to clip on the snark like once every, I do it every day, but still.
Do you remember when Snarks came out, everyone was like, that's the fanny pack of being a musician, man. Nobody likes those. Get those the fuck off. And now everybody does it. Like, I put it on my 8-string bass, and it's like, it works. That's, I don't know if you're into pedals too, but like taking a tuner off the pedal board, that's beautiful real estate that you could have for some other useless pedal that does one thing, but you love it.
Why wouldn't you want to have a tool that puts you in tune seriously, like, before it used to be like, hey bro, give me an A. And then you're all like, we're still not, somebody's out of tune, and I just tuned to that person.
There's always an A. Always give me an A. I just walk around with a tuning fork up my butt. I was always prepared.
Right.
So when you were, hell yeah. Nice. An ook. So when you record, because we like watching your live streams, like, do you just use an interface, or do you actually have a pedal board like off screen somewhere that you're fuck with?
I have a Boss ME80 multiple effects, which
it's multi-effects, sure, yeah.
Because I just don't have the room for. I had so much work equipment in here at one point because of the COVID that I literally could not set up anything. So for my birthday, I was like, get me that multiple effects pedal. I need something. And then, in fact, I just found this. I don't know if you guys remember these, but this is an original.
We do.
Wow.
This is an original 1974.
Single dial pedals.
Awesome.
Idiot proof for us.
I found that in the garage. I was like, oh my God. And then I looked it up. It's worth like $500. I'm not going to sell it.
We were just talking. I can't believe that like all the pedals I was buying for like $40 in the 90s are now like $500.
Yeah.
Right. And then I bought a Positive Spark 40 watt Spark Grid practice amp.
Yeah.
Which it has its faults. It also has some amazing qualities. One of those qualities is a lot of the tone you see from you hear from some of the stuff I'm getting from a patch on that particular amp.
That's all, dude. That's what Freddie May did. Or Freddie May, Brian May. That's all. Like, the entire Queen sound is a 10-inch speaker. Right. With a microphone, so if it works, it works.
Or some shit, or a 2-pen.
Instead of a pick, yeah.
I also have this Yamaha bass, which I can play some basics. So when I decide to record some crap, I can.
So just black guitars then, okay? Cool.
I like black.
I know.
Well, I did replace my Ibanez 12 string with another Ibanez 12 string.
Awesome.
I have usually been a Strat guy.
Mm-hmm.
I replaced my Fender Strat with a Squier Strat. I found
I definitely wanted to ask you about that.
Well, once I set it up,
it's comparable. The difference, man.
Yeah. It's really not so I did a setup. So I got this Squier. It does have the silver pick guard, which is for me having all black is kind of like what's going on. So I was a Strat guy. And then I got this, I saw this Squier telly.
Yeah.
With, hold on one second. Squier telly with the double H's.
Mm-hmm. Double H's,
I was like, okay, I got it. And then once I started playing it, I've never liked the Telecasters aesthetically. So I just never really bothered. And then I picked this one, I got this one, and I started playing it, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So it's kind of right now, it's this one. And my Ibanez Geo that I'm kind of fluctuating between the most.
Cool.
Which I just got the Ibanez Geo. This one's a beast. It's a monster to play. If you don't know, if you hadn't had lessons, this is not very forgiving.
It's the best lesson of all.
Yeah, it exposes everything.
This one's like, motherfucker, you better step your game up.
Yeah.
Because you will get noises out of this. You're like, oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, I didn't mean that. So yeah, there's times where I've recorded some stuff playing that where I've been like, I'm not releasing that.
Yeah.
I'm not releasing, but not posting that. And then there's some videos I'm like, all right, that was not bad.
So I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about Squier? Because I was looking at Squier just came out with like a Jaguar that's like $330, but it has all of the switches. It's not like the old Squier Jaguars. This looks like the old 60s Fender. And Pete said that Squier just it's not like.
I'm saying if you're going to spend the money, just splurge. Like if with you're not a professional musician. Like you're going to be dicking around like once a month with it. Like might as well go for it. Like
I find the Squiers. They okay. Here's what they do. Here's the difference between the Squiers and the Fenders. The Squier they use slightly cheaper materials for some of the stuff.
Right.
Once you've got it all set up. If you do your own setups, or if you take it in to get set up, I have found that they're pretty much the same. Like, yeah, man, if I go and I pick up a $8,000 Fender that's been set up, yeah, that's going to play like freaking butter. And I'm going to be like, wow, this is insane, but I can't spend $8,000. Right. Or being, married and having bills and this and that, I sometimes I can't spend $1,500
right.
on my guitar. So it's like, I'll pick one up and I'll be like, all right, this is pretty nice. If I set this up, I think it's going to be all right. So if you're on a budget, I find no issue with the Squiers. That Telecaster and that Stratocaster, they play freaking awesomely. I love them.
Yeah.
And then I have these two Epiphones, the Les Paul Studio and the SG.
Nice.
And once I set those up, I love them. They're fantastic guitars. So would it be nice to say, yes, I have Gibsons and Fenders on my rack? Mm-hmm. Sure. But at the same time, I've got responsibilities, and I moved here and I had to get rid of my good shit back in the States when I had money and I was spending money on expensive crap. And then I came here and I'm like, okay, spent a lot of money getting here and this and that. And I still want to play some different stuff here and there. And honestly, I haven't found a reason to not buy Squiers, and I haven't found a reason to not buy phones.
Because you're paying for the name at that point, like when you're getting an SG. But I mean, speaking of the Telecaster, somebody, a mutual friend of all of us, we asked Brentley Gore if he wanted to come on the podcast, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do it. If you get me a custom telly." And we were like taken aback. We're like, "You're gonna get a used Hello Kitty guitar on our budget." So we're gonna try to negotiate down.
Was he kidding, or
we don't know? A comment on one of our videos, so I think it was in jest, but there was no.
He's inceptioning the seed.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, man. He's got a very nice Fender telly. that he brought to the.
He already has one.
He already has one. We can do it custom.
I don't remember if it's custom or not, but it is very nice.
We can customize it.
Yeah, we'll customize it.
No, Brentley is actually like, if you want, as far as musicianship goes, Brentley is a musician.
That guy's good. Yeah.
He studied. He studied guitar and piano and music, and he reads music, and he has had vocal training and all this. So Brentley is a musician. I'm a guy.
He's got some good albums.
Yeah, he lives like 10 minutes from Zach. We're just trying to make this happen.
Yeah, I was going to mention that actually. You said Nashville. I was like, oh, you guys should probably get Brentley on here. But
we probably should. You
might have to find a custom tally. So I don't know.
Oh my God, where are we going to do that?
I'm going to get arrested for breaking into a music shop.
Well, it's okay. This is I'm endorsed by Conklin. Like you just don't get a custom instrument. Like it takes months for them to build it because it's custom. It's in the name. Like
right. And
anyway.
It's a lot of money too. That's a lot of money.
We found that to be true.
Yes.
We checked out some of your. What was that?
I said, I think that's all of them. Yeah.
There's always some lurking behind the shadows.
And I've got like 3 classical guitars in the garage that I need to get strung.
Yeah.
That a neighbor gave me that he was throwing out. And I'm
nice.
Wow.
All right, yeah, I'll take them. So they're just sitting there. I need to get them restrung. I need to probably replace the tuners. But
do you do any finger picking, or is it all pick stuff for you?
I do a little finger picking, but it's pretty basic. I broke my upper humerus, so my attack and my picking is I'm learning to do it again. I've only recently in the last years been able to sync up and do like solo. A lot of what you're watching is me recovering.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the things you've watched is me recovering from the break. Where I broke my upper humerus, a lot of nerve damage, and I was actually playing it. I was hitting a string, and I was hitting the attack like a second later or a second sooner, as I was hitting a hand, whatever. And I was just like, I can't. So it was just there was a lot of work, and it took a long time. So my picking is very basic at the moment. You've seen you've seen what I'm doing with some of the Pink Floyd or solos and stuff. So I'm getting better, but
it's always an uphill battle, man, no matter what.
Yep. And then as far as the classicals go, I want to string them up and maybe learn some stuff, but that's that again.
Learn some green sleeves, motherfucker. Come on, show us.
Yeah. Anyway, hold on one second.
Well, we don't want to keep you too long, but I think I had some quick fire questions about the show that are just plaguing us that are so stupid that literally there's nobody else we could talk to. Well, we had Michael Aaron on. He was one of our other guests. He played, this is before your time, but he
was season 1, Jenny's ex-boyfriend.
He didn't answer anything. He could. So I just had some dumb questions, if that's okay.
Who was he on?
He was Jenny Garrison's ex-boyfriend.
It's just shitty. He's like a shitty boyfriend / actor. Okay. Anyway, but we
in the show he plays a shit.
He's a lovely man.
Great guy. I loved having him on. But
this is so dumb. I'm already regretting asking this. The last episode of the first season, you're not on, but they've introduced a character named Jake, and he looks exactly like you, and he's like a cool dude, and he has girls on his arm. And I was wondering, literally the only person in the world, I thought this was you when we were rewatching, and I was like, this has to be a soft launch of this character. Do you know if the writers were trying to slowly introduce the idea of a Jake coming in? Because you were in on the next episode of the first.
And they recast it, obviously.
They recast it. Yeah.
I've seen that episode, but I don't actually remember it. Mm-hmm. I don't think... From what I understand, I think they had a different idea for that character. Okay. For the character of Jake than this particular Jake.
Okay.
And also, I've actually had Ron Solomon, one of the guys who created the show, actually say, I named you this character after my son. I don't think he felt the same about that character. So, and in fact, his son and I are friends on the socials, and we chat here and there. A bit younger than I am. I'm 52. I think he's in his early 30s. But yeah, he would have to be. Wow, I'm old. Okay. So yeah,
dude, we feel that all the time. Don't worry.
All right. So yeah. All right. Lightning round. Next one.
Okay. Were the amps ever on in California Dreams? Because they're never on in the show. Like, did anybody say like, we should at least turn these on or plug them in?
I'm you know what? I'm sure there were many. I mean, you've probably seen points where I've actually plugged in my guitar.
Yes. And thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Realism.
I think there was at one point I went over and like tapped an amp on one episode just to make it look like I was doing something.
That's all I wanted.
I don't remember. If like I really like. When people ask me, I'm kind of like, it's all one big episode now.
Oh, I know. This was like 30 years ago. Michael Aaron was the same way. He's like, I don't know. I was there for 2 days 30 years ago.
Right.
So, I get it.
But 4 or 5 years, 30 years ago. And I'm like,
it might be a blurry 4 or 5 years, but we appreciate that. So was there any ever jamming, like between takes, like setting up shots and stuff? Like the guitars are there, but like people didn't know how to play, like ever at all?
There's a picture of Brentley and I at my house in Hollywood, East Hollywood, where he's singing and I'm singing. I've got the guitar, and he doesn't really remember this, but we had actually written a song at his house a couple nights before. And it was, I think it was smoking our cigarettes late at night, trying to find the words that'll make it all right. Our eyelids are heavy, our emotions are spent. Oh shit, we forgot to pay our rent. On your knees, boy, we don't care, 'cause the heroin's good. We don't care, 'cause we don't do what we should. We don't care, we just don't care.
It's a B-side right there.
I brought that up to him a long time ago, and he doesn't really remember it. But the people my girlfriend at the time remembers it. A lot of people remember it. But yeah, there was some offset jamming here and there, but on set you didn't really have the time.
Okay, cool. So would there be a Cyberpunk without Deus Ex?
Ooh, not in its present form.
Yeah.
But sure. Sure, but I don't think it would. Deus Ex is the granddaddy of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's that was I was at a lot of milestones in gaming, and that was definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm. No, that was an OG game, basically.
Yeah, proud to be a part of that, and proud of the community that supports us still as well.
Did you ever get to meet John Waters? Because I heard you did not get to do a part, and I'm assuming maybe serial mom, but like,
I had just come out of the interview with John Waters. I was walking down the street and I saw a payphone. I called my agent or my manager. I don't remember which. I think it was my manager, actually, Paul Eskel. Great guy, still a good friend. And he said, Jason, because he called me Jason, like my mother called me Jason. Yeah. And he said, you've got a choice to make. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said, you just left the interview with John Waters for that movie, and you've been offered that part. But you've also, we've just got the call from NBC, and you've been offered the part of Jake-Sommers. Mm-hmm. So I had to make a decision. And it was like, okay, well, this much money for this one part.
Yep.
And it was pretty low budget for this one part on the movie. Or the series that could go 10 years, could get canceled next year. Take a chance. And in retrospect, I should have fought for both, but NBC is not offering me the ability to do both. Some people say you should have taken the movie.
Should have, could have, would have, man. But did you get to meet him at some point?
Yes,
I mean,
that's
a story in itself, man. Like,
that interview was with John Waters. He was a very, very personable person. Very nice.
Baltimore native too. So absolutely. Maryland, yeah.
And I've seen Pink Flamingos. woo, craziness.
Crazy.
He basically picked me right after I left the room. He basically said, "That's our dude."
Yeah.
And he made the call. So I usually don't tell people because I never wanted to.
Yeah.
People saying, just say it now. It's been so long, but I never wanted to be like, oh, I got it over this guy that ended up playing it.
No,
but he did a great job and he went on to do a lot of crap. So good for him. Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's great. I mean, I have some other stuff, but we don't want to keep you forever. Jay, I don't know. It's been so fucking nice to talk to you.
Cool.
And
it was really awesome.
If you want to come on and like do an episode with us at some point where we take it beat by beat and we break down the musical industry standpoint of this children's band, we'd love to have you back on. Okay.
That is a possibility. We could possibly do that. I'm going to be massively busy for like the next month or so.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, real quick. We are going to be at the Hotel Ziggy in Los Angeles doing another 2 shows on the 12th and the 14th of July. Mm-hmm. There's a meet and greet during the day on the 12th. There is a concert in the evening of the 12th, and then we're doing a VIP brunch / matinee show on the 14th. And then there's some other news coming up regarding some stuff on the other side of the country later that I'll talk about it.
I'm edging. That sounds awesome.
Like, we're all over on this half of the country, so hopefully
maybe I'll see you guys. We'll talk about that another time. And then as far as anything else goes, you can follow me on my socials. Just look up at Anthony Franke. I have a TikTok, a IG, a Facebook. There is a official Facebook. Mm-hmm. There is a private Facebook. Most people join my private Facebook too, whatever. Mm-hmm. If you're cool with me, you can join. If you come on and get all crazy on me, then sorry, you got to go.
And you got to find me on MySpace. So
I tried to get into my MySpace. I've
been locked out for a little while now.
Right. And then what else? And then there's on the IG. There's only one. Mm-hmm. Only one IG. That's me. So if you see any others, they're not real. I just got in an argument with a person who was like, if you don't believe I'm you, we got problems, don't we?
Keyboard warrior over here.
Don't forget CaliforniaDreamsBand.com.
And then there's CaliforniaDreamsBand.com where you can get the latest. I don't know how up to date it is at the moment because I think some work's being done on it. But yeah, CaliforniaDreamsBand.com. Go there and check us out. I think we have links to get tickets to our stuff also at Hotel Ziggy in my personal socials, also on CaliforniaDreamsBand.com as well.
I stole your set list from the show in New York City. But I just want to say they put on an awesome show, and it was very surreal seeing all the fans that love it. But it was also like seeing great musicians on stage doing their thing. And I know it sounds cheesy, and you might hear it a lot, but I do want to say, like, you were a part of the inspiration for me to start guitar. I saw you first when I was like 10 or 11 years old, and it was one of the things that made me want to play, and it made me want to be on stage. And then that was a big fork in the road in my life. So if nothing else, thank you. Even if you were kind of faking it, you did it well enough to fool a 10-year-old child. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I really do appreciate you coming on our silly podcast here. If any of your crew, I wanted to ask you if you guys have a text thread and you've talked about us, but put a worm in their ear that like we do love the show. Anything that we say is in jest, and we do it out of love. And we do hope to see you again. And everybody go to this show if they're on the West Coast, and stay tuned for any other news. But
cool. Well, Pete, George, Zach, pleasure to meet all three of you.
Same.
You as well. Thanks.
Yeah,
thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Have a great, Friday night for you guys?
It's getting dark here. So
Saturday.
Yeah, man. Right. And thank you again. This is Surf Dudes with Attitude. We'll be back next week with an episode of Alf that we're talking about. Alf starts a fucking band and it's terrible. So please tune in, okay?
Awesome. All right. Gentlemen, have a good one.
All right, CJ. Thanks.
This has been a Waning Moon production.